Okay guys, so the next thing is to install the forks here back onto the bike so we can get it back up on its wheels and make it a lot easier to work on. I've already installed the little seal here that goes right there under the bottom bearing, so the next thing to go on is going to be the bearing. Obviously I already have the forks somewhat together, that's because they were already on the bike, but it's still going to be the same way. You just slide it into the clamp of doing it this way. So I'll go ahead and get that put in, so I'll go ahead and get the bearing first. I've already got it greased up pretty well. So I'm just going to put the bottom bearing right on. Just like that, and it sits in that little cup right there. Okay, so I've already got the top bearing placed in here also. It goes the opposite way, obviously. Then the fork, I'm just going to go ahead and start putting it in there. The next thing to go on is going to be this collar. That's what, or the inner race of the bearing. It just goes right there. And then there's going to be this seal that goes on top right there. And then of course one of the big nuts. So I'm going to go ahead and just slide this up. Just like that. Get started with this nut. Okay, just like that. Okay, so now it's time to go ahead and torque down this top nut here. Not top nut, but nut. It's going to be torqued down to first 52 Newton meters, and you loosen it back up, then down to 18 Newton meters. You'll have to use a spanner wrench. I've already torqued it down to 52 Newton meters and loosened it up, so now we just need to do the 18. Of course, if you're using one of these, you want to be at 90 degrees to keep the torque accurate. So yeah, just right about there. Feels good. Okay, so next we'll install the next one. Okay, so up next we're going to install the retainer, I guess you call it, for this. First goes on this rubber thing. That goes in between the two nuts. Then the next nut goes on. You're going to want to make sure these are lined up. It's not quite, I mean it's there right now, but it's too loose. So I'm going to go ahead and try to get to the next position. There we go. So that's installed now. I don't think it'll go to the next one easily. Oh, maybe it will. Okay, so there we go. So now I'm going to put this retainer clip on that kind of keeps these from backing off. It'd be next to impossible. Okay, up next we're going to be installing the top triple clamp here. One note on it, I would recommend installing the ignition if you haven't already, because it's kind of hard to get on once it's on there. This pretty simply just slips on here. There may be a little bit of, we have to spread it a little bit here on the top on those, just like that. And we'll just tap it down. Just like that. Okay, so next I'm going to do this nut right here. Okay, what I like to do when I'm installing these, the top triple clamp, to make sure it's firmly seated down and flat, is I'm going to go ahead and put the top nut on and somewhat torque it down. These are torqued down to like 116 Newton meters, or about 82 foot-pounds. This is a 36 millimeter, so you may have to get one of those to do this. So I'm going to get it pretty tight there, like that. Then I'm going to get ready to put these in next, before I get it too tight. Okay, so I've got that pretty tight. Now I'll go ahead and put these in. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and install these bolts in the top clamp here. Okay, so now I'm going to torque down the triple clamp nuts. They're all going to be 23 Newton meters, starting with the bottom ones and the top ones. You want to make sure that your forks are, of course, even. Mine are. So I'm going to go ahead and torque these down. Then the top ones are also going to be the same torque. Alright, so next we're going to do the clip-ons. The clip-on bolts are right here on the back, and they're going to be torqued down to 17 Newton meters. So go ahead and set the torque wrench for that and torque these down real quick. One thing to note on that is they have these bolts. They come up to the top of them, so make sure it's all the way pulled into that before you torque it down. So I'm going to go ahead and put those in first, actually. Okay, before I fully tighten down the handlebars, I'm going to loosen them up just a little, so I can put the top bolts in and make sure it's pulled all the way up to it. Torque this down to 12 Newton meters here. Make sure to loosen this one up first. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and do these pinch bolts up to 17 Newton meters. Okay. And now we're going to torque down this last big one, which is going to be 113 Newton meters. For this one, I'm going to have the handlebar already all the way that way. There it is. Okay, so the handlebars are installed. The last thing, and probably the most important, of course, to install is going to be the sticker. And that's going to go just right there. Just like that. Okay. Okay, up next I'm going to reinstall the steering damper. This bike came with this Öhlins-esque one, so I'm going to go ahead and install it. This is going to go just right here and be torqued down to 23 Newton meters. Okay, before I go any further, I'm going to make sure that this can go to full extension. It can that way. And then we'll check it this way also. And it can. So it's within the range of it, so I don't need to adjust it anymore. Alright, so that's installed now. Okay, and now we've got it onto the stand, so it's time to go ahead and continue the build. It really is pretty easy, even by myself. All I did was took the front stand there, put that in first with it sitting on the little dolly it was on. Then I slid a jack under it, jacked it up some until I could get the rear stand under it, and then popped it right up, and it was easy. Okay, so now it's time to start reinstalling the exhaust rather. It's pretty straightforward really. It's got one mount on the back here that corresponds with back here. And then of course on the front it's got the flanges. I've already got the O-rings put up in there. So we'll go ahead and just set this up here and start putting some screws on. There, now it'll hold that in place so you can put the rest on a lot easier. Okay, so now we're going to torque these all down to 20 Newton meters. And when you're torquing these down, make sure you kind of keep the tension even between the two sides. Okay, so the headers are installed on the front side and torqued down. Okay, so here in the back of the header, there's going to be a brace that goes in there, right up in there. So first I'm going to push this bolt back out a little bit. Okay, so this is going to go in with the metal washer side towards the exhaust here. Just like that. This isn't the final bolt, but I'm just going to put it here to hold it in place, kind of. Okay, then this nut down here on this exhaust and also suspension will be torqued down to 42 Newton meters, just like the rest of the suspension. Just like that. I've got to put a different bolt right there, so I'll fix that in a little while. Okay, so up next I'm going to install the catalytic converter. It pretty simply just kind of slips in here just like that. And you kind of wiggle it down into place. Just like that. I'm not going to fully install it yet because I'm missing this mount. There's a mount that comes from right here that bolts to the bottom of the subframe that bolts to right here on the cat, this mount. So I'm waiting on that to come in right now. But I'll go ahead and put the rear mufflers on so we can get this in the spot where we want it to be before tightening it up. Okay, the next piece to go on is actually the Undertale here. It has to go on because the mufflers go on top of it. You just kind of spread it out and put it on there. Then it's held on by several clips. Down here at the bottom, it's just going to have one of these push pins that goes right here in the front. Just like that. Okay, then here at the top, there's going to be 4 more clips up here on this. So 2 of them just go right here. I'll just pop those in and push them in. Oops. These are screw-in type. These are technically for GM, I think, because I didn't have any of the Yamaha ones convenient. Just like that. So this piece is now attached. Okay, now that we've got the Undertale on, and I also went ahead and put the tail light in. It's just 2 of those little, push rivets right there. So we're going to go ahead and install the muffler, or mufflers. The way these go is it goes with the built-in washer on the outside towards the muffler. On this front clip, it goes up on this side. So I'm just going to work it in here. Okay, so then I'm going to install the bolt next. It goes with the small washer on the outside, like that. Through there, big washer on the back side, and then the lock nut. And about like that, torque. I'm not going to tighten this down yet till I put the other side on. This side's going to go on pretty much the same way. The band goes so the bolt is down. Right there. And then of course this side as well. There we go. There's probably a torque for those, but I'm not going to worry with it. The last thing to go on right here is going to be these little guards. They're marked right and left. It just keeps the heat away, I guess. So they're just going to go right there like that. And then one over here as well. There we go. So the mufflers are installed now. The last part to install down here is going to be the actual exhaust servo, which kind of goes right down here. You can see the bracket for it. There's a spot on the bottom of the frame it attaches to. Right there, hopefully you can see that. Okay, so I'm going to put a little Loctite on this. Make sure it doesn't come off. And then it's going to sit right up in there just like that with the plug going forward. So it sits, you want to drop it, that's always good for it. Just like this. There we go. Not going to worry about torquing that down, it's just going to be a general torque. About right there. Okay, so now we're going to get ready to attach it down there. Now that we've got it right there. And of course there's going to be an electrical plug that gets plugged in on the bottom there. Okay, so now I'm attaching the cables here. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull this cover off. There it is. So this is just an extra bracket, just like this one. But since this one's already on there, we'll go ahead and use it. So I'm checking the cable tension here. It's a little bit tight right now. Before I can even put it on here. So I'm gonna go ahead and let it back out some. You can kind of see there when I'm trying to pull it into that eyelet. It's not quite wanting to get there easily. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so now I'm gonna put it back in. Once I have the ECU on, I can do the final adjustment of this. Right now it's just sort of mocked up. There you go.